why the two of you titled this book Regime Change.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of a couple of months into the presidency realized that we weren't just covering a transition from a Democratic president to a Republican president. And in fact, it was nothing like what we covered in the first term in the way he was using executive power. The premise for the title, Regime Change, was that we're used to talking about regime change in foreign countries and covering regime change in foreign countries. It's a much more uncomfortable and challenging task to think about a regime change in our own country. And when you look at what he's done as president, the way he's used executive power, it's like nothing we've seen in our lifetimes. You can go across the gamut. When George W. Bush went to war in Iraq and Afghanistan, you know, as flawed as the decision-making was, there was a process of getting approval by Congress, the branch of government under the Constitution that has the power to declare war. Trump didn't even talk to Congress. He just went to war. When he went and snatched a foreign sovereign head of state out of his bedroom in his pajamas in the middle of the night and forced regime change in Venezuela, he didn't talk to anyone in Congress. When he started a trade war with the whole world based on authorities which, you know, once the courts caught up to it, you know, were invalid, again, there's no consultation. So it's unilateral expressions of power like we haven't seen in our lifetimes. And what we wanted to do in the book was to really emphasize what's in front of our own eyes and try to dig deeper and show people how it's working in there, how this country is being run by the very small group of people that are in charge of this country.
Yeah, and you do that very effectively. New details about one of his closest aides, Natalie Harp. Maggie and Jonathan report on how she became the president's gateway to information, supplying him with positive news stories and pro-Trump social media posts. They also write how she would often read the materials out loud to the president and later give him physical copies from a portable printer that she kept on her. According to the new book, Harp, quote, wrote Trump adoring letters that she left in his personal spaces, including one that read, "You are all that matters to me." Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, told others that she remembered thinking, "Where am I?" And that Trump had taken to telling his staff that Natalie was the only one who loved him as much as his wife and his kids, adding, "All of you will go off and make money, and she'll never leave me." I mean, Maggie, obviously those of us who cover the president know Natalie Harp. Obviously, she's typically by his side all the time. For people at home, though, and as you're looking at the realm of figures that are surrounding him in this second term, what does this say to you?
So a couple of things, Caitlin. Natalie Harp became omnipresent in the campaign, and we write about that. She was not one of the original people in 2021 in this very small group of people who was there, but you know, at some point in 2022, she became somebody who was constantly with him on the golf courses when he was in Florida. Again, they would refer to her as the human printer because she had this portable printer where she would hand him pieces of positive information. What it says is that he wants to keep people around who either, you know, make him happy or feed him information that he prefers to hear. I mean, one of the scenes that we have in the book is him demanding the quote unquote real numbers during a tariff discussion when he is being told by his own staff what the actual numbers are, and he wants Natalie to go get him some different set of numbers that just didn't comport with reality. And he is more interested in information that he wants to hear and in seeking out something that validates what he believes, that he has always been interested in that. It was just harder for him to get. This time, it is much easier. And Natalie Harp is one of the people who took over posting duties to the president's Truth Social post in this term, and that makes her fairly significant.
Yeah, I mean, Maggie, that part really stood out to me because basically, you know, he was talking to the Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. I mean, this passage of the book talks about what he's hearing from all of these staffers, and he's telling Natalie, go find the good numbers that she had pulled up for him. I mean, it kind of takes you into how he equates his staff in terms of experience and whether they're in the cabinet or a staffer who follows him around.
No, that's right. I mean, one of the things we used to hear in term one a lot, Caitlin, and in this way, this is a sort of more of a pure Trump aspect, and we describe Steve Bannon referring to Donald Trump that way and how much pure Trump was coming through. He often would assign multiple people the same job, but not quite like this. He really is just bringing in, sort of direct people who will do what he wants. You're seeing that with Bill Pulte, who is now the Director of National Intelligence, despite having no intelligence experience, no intelligence community experience. We have a lot of detail about Bill Pulte's efforts to try to push Trump toward evidence that he believed could help lead to prosecutions of Trump's perceived enemies in the book. The fact that he is now the Director of National Intelligence, I think, speaks to exactly what we're talking about with Natalie Harp in a different context.
Yeah, and Jonathan, as Trump was speaking in the Oval Office today with the NATO Secretary General, I thought about a part of your book that I had read in terms of the president's aging and what White House staffers have noticed, not even what other people have noticed. I mean, obviously he turned 80. And the two of you write in the book that the president was having trouble hearing. He was asking people to repeat questions they had just asked, that joint press conferences with world leaders were more often held in the Oval Office than in the spacious East Room, in part because the acoustics were better and they didn't have to stand for an hour. You also write that some of Trump's aides began to say privately that for the first time he was beginning to seem old to them. Those who spent time with him could see the signs, the moments of fatigue, the cupped hand behind the ear. But Trump's personal dominance in any room often papered over what his body could no longer fully conceal. I mean, what was the sense you picked up on from these staffers?
Well, it's a very difficult area of reporting, as you know, Caitlin, because all of us cover the president. It's something that they keep very well concealed. I'm not even sure that his most senior aides have a clear picture of his health, about all the aspects of his medical reports. They often talk about how they're the most transparent White House, the most transparent president. It's manifestly not the case. They put out very incomplete medical information. Recently, they said he saw 22 specialists. We have no indication of who those specialists are or what their specialties are. They haven't released all the imaging results. You can go down the list. Look, he's 80 years old. We can see for ourselves that he sometimes has trouble staying awake in the afternoons. We can see the swelling around the ankles, the chronic venous insufficiency, and there's a lot of unknowns. So we didn't manage to crack. That was one area that, as a reporting task, feels very incomplete to us, and we're still very much continuing the reporting on that. But there's nothing beyond what is publicly available, but I think we actually know very little, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, Maggie, the two of you, as you reported out on this book, and everyone really should read it because it goes into so many different facets of this second Trump term and so much that has happened. From the Kennedy Center to the president's health to the dynamics. You actually sat down with the president inside the Oval in the final stages of your reporting for this book to go over the material that you had learned. And the president kind of went off at one point. He told you they illegally indicted me, they impeached me, they did everything, they shot me, I guess you could say, but I won the election in a landslide. Nobody else could have done it. And there's only one thing you can say about me that anybody believes, and you know what it is. He said, essentially, I won every effing time.